Hello, and welcome to the first of our Google Sheets videos. Today, we're going to take a look at this new program in the Microsoft Office world. It's called Excel, but within Google, they call it Sheets. So it consists of a spreadsheet, one worksheet in what we would call a workbook. So down at the bottom here, we can see that there's one sheet in this workbook, and the sheet itself is broken into columns and rows. So where the columns and rows intersect, that becomes a cell. And each of the cells has a unique name. So the box I've highlighted there, we would call B5. This box over here is called E2. So we use the column name first and then the row number. And so inside this sheet, we're primarily going to be using it to assist us in creating calculations. We're going to build formulas, and we're going to get the computer to be doing that, that rote calculation for us. Typically, if you just want to have a table, you would normally do it inside Docs. So you don't need to use a spreadsheet to organize things, but it can certainly be helpful in sorting and doing calculations for you. So let's open up the tutorial. So I downloaded it from Schoology already, and it's just called tutorial number 1. There we go. So with this tutorial, you're starting with a half-made file, and this file here we can see has a title sheet. It has a second sheet that has site selection, and then we have a third sheet that's empty. So our workbook contains 3 sheets. So zoom this in for us. So on our sheet, we see that we have some locations. And the purpose of this sheet was this Mike Nagachi is making a proposal for making golf courses. And so as a team, they're collecting information and trying to make a decision. So they're thinking about the factors, but then weighing the importance of the factor. So in terms of building this golf course, obviously climate is a really big, it's a really important factor, but the market size, are there actually golfers? You can have the best climate, but if there aren't people around to golf, then your course is going to go bankrupt. So we've weighted the factors. Each of the locations gets a score based from 1 to 5. And so we're just going to move in here and add another location. So Phoenix has really great weather, not perfect, but let's say excellent weather. Yeah, sure, it's pretty near perfect. You're not going to get rained out. There's a lot of competition, so unfortunately, I would say it's not a good location for golf. The market size, there's plenty of people to golf, so I feel like that's a good spot for golf. Topography is a little bit challenging because of the arid climate, and transportation should be excellent. There's a lot of ways to get around in Phoenix. So we have our raw scores here. And what we want to do is try to figure out which one of these overall is looking the best. And so we're going to take this weight and we're going to use it as a multiplier. So for Kauai, who got a score of 5 in climate, if we go down below and we look at the actual weighted scores, we see that the number 40 is here, but take your eye up in the formula bar. So, and I'm just highlighting it because I love the way that Sheets pops up the colors. So you've got an orange for cell B3, you've got a purple for cell C3, and the star that's in between them is referring to the multiply sign. So it's saying, take the contents of B3. Imagine B3 is a box, and inside that box is an 8. So take the contents of B3 and times it by the contents of C3. And we see that in the formula bar, but when we press enter, we see the actual answer on the worksheet. So behind the scenes, there's actually quite a lot going on here. We could see that this, for competition, now we're looking at B4 and C4. So just moving down, same column B, but in the row 4, type C4. And notice that each of these formulas begins with an equal sign. So if you don't have that, it's like you're writing text in this box. It'll think that you're just writing a normal word or a normal sentence. As soon as you use the equal sign, the Sheets knows it's being asked to be a calculator, and therefore it will treat these things as cell identifiers and do the calculation. Whoops, that's a good example. So I just made an oopsie there, so I can undo. Come on. Phew, came back. So for Phoenix, let's find out its weighted scores. So I'm going to type equals, and I'm going to type F3, because that's our value for 5. And I'm going to times it by the importance weight, so B3. F3 times B3, when I press enter, I see 5 times 8, the answer there. So as you're moving ahead with your spreadsheets throughout the unit, don't ever find the answer and retype it. Definitely build the formula first and let the computer do the answering. And the reason is let's say, this is horrible, but perhaps climate change gets crazy and the Phoenix is way too hot for golfing. If I want to make a change and change the value for climate to 3, I press enter, and notice that my weighted score also changes. So it will be able to react to different contents in the cells as you move forward. That's the power of it. And of course, as we budget, there's things in our budgets that we don't know exactly the true value. And once we enter the true value, we want our budget to adjust and reflect it. So we're going to enter in our next formula. We're going to take F4 and times it by B4. And press enter. So these formulas are just kind of hitting one after another. This little box that's in the corner, we could call that a fill handle. You can click and drag that down, and it'll actually fill the formula down for you. So you can verify it. Click in each box, and you'll see that it will fill it's pretty handy. So in our final box here, we're going to look and see that we're expected to write in a total for Phoenix. So we're going to add together all those weighted scores and total them up. So one way to do a total is by using a reserved word. So this word sum, S-U-M, and then a bracket, that is telling us add up all the things from C11 all the way to C15. And go back. So C11 is where the 40 is, all the way down to C15 where the 10 is. This whole piece, we want the sum of that whole piece together. Edmonton is also calculated that same way. And that is really the best way to do it, because you might have 50 factors, but just in case you were curious, you can do this. You can say F11 plus F12 plus F13 plus F14 plus F15. And that'll add together those 5 items in that list. And we would get our answer of 150. Of course, we could also use the sum feature as well. What is nice, if you did want to use the sum feature, is that you can drag. So you could start here and actually just click and drag with your mouse to know the entire grouping of cells that you want to include. Be sure when you're using the reserved word formulas that you close that bracket and press enter. So that's just a very brief, very quick view on spreadsheets. Little behind the scenes tip for all of these, we have bolding on them. You can go in and change the color. You can go in and make some shading, so there's a lot of like formatting features that can be used. It might be nice to have your numbers centered within the cell. That might have been nice. So you can make some of those same adjustments in the sheets as we did in docs, in the tables inside docs. So next video, we'll talk a little bit more about formatting money, and definitely some more formulas and calculations.